So Dave, we've talked about some other things that we can do with Power BI. And one of those that you've asked me and asked me to demonstrate is how I can just ask a question of the data, right? And I've showed you how to do it and it kind of blew your mind,
Yeah.
right? So every time I show this to somebody, it blows their mind. So let's get this out on video. And I think I've actually done it once before, but I don't know. A lot of people didn't watch it for whatever reason. But let me kind of tell you where this report even comes from. So this customer does a daily report, and tell me if this sounds familiar. The daily report, somebody has to go push a button in Excel. It goes and gets all the data from yesterday, sums it all up. They save it as a PDF. They print a dozen copies of it, pass it out. People look at it, and it gets filed away, probably never to be looked at again. And actually, in some cases, it's handed to somebody to go punch a bunch of stuff into SAP.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
I mean, I think you just described about 75% of manufacturing companies. I think 10% do a better job, and I think 15% hope to get to the level one day of what you've just described.
Yeah. So we're in 2020. We just went through a pandemic, told everybody to go home, work from home, and we're still printing stuff out and hand typing it into our ERP systems,
Mm-hmm.
which is ridiculous.
It is.
So one of the things that I showed this customer is I showed them a Power BI format of their daily report. And I can't show that. I didn't ever genericize it, so I can't show it. But I literally made it where it was much more graphical and not just a bunch of numbers on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I did is I backfilled all the data for their daily report for like 5 years. And I said, one of the questions, if I ask you this question now and you would not be able to answer it, how are you doing right now, April 15th, 2020, compared to how you were doing on April 15th, 2018, 2017, 2016? How are you doing? No clue. Why? Because all those reports are just gone. Nobody's ever tried to string it all together and look at it. And the way they would try to do it is go get them all, punch them into Excel, get somebody to do that, and hopefully maybe it'll work. I said, no, you don't have to do that. So we've gone and made the data and backfilled it and showed them, hey, we can do that. One of the things I showed them is in 2017, this happened to be, I was showing one of their subject matter experts who now is no longer there. 30 years in the business, no longer there, for reasons I can't talk about, but he's no longer there. He's retired. And now nobody even knows why any of this happened. And I'm pressing them on let's go back and figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
But he asked a question, very simple question. He says, I just wonder how much steam we use per how much product we make on a month-to-month basis. So we looked at it, and he said, I wonder how much more we use in the winter than we do versus the summer. And so we have that ratio, and we kind of looked at it. I said, well, Steve, I want to know, how have you done year over year? So this very top graph, I made the year a legend. So basically it creates a new bar graph for every year. And I said, oh, Steve, look at this. And then I had to kind of recolor it and filter out some things. But I said, look, in 2017, you're basically averaging about a 0.46 steam to product ratio.
Mm-hmm.
But look what happens in 18, 0.81, 2019, 0.67. And from what I've looked at, from what I remember in 2020, it hasn't gotten a lot better. So they were doing something in 2017 that's way better than what they're doing now. And this has happened for 3 years. They're printing money and burning it in the boiler is what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what they're doing. And they didn't even know it. Why? Because they did a daily report that got printed out, and nobody can really think about that trend over time, but a machine can. And he said, well, I guess we were probably just making more product in 2018 and 19. That's not true. They were actually making less product.
Huh.
So basically, you're probably producing the same amount of steam, but just making less product with it. Okay, so this is a problem. I have challenged them to go figure this out, right? So here's another use case for Power BI. Now, as we talked about at the beginning, I can actually go ask a question of the data. So I'm going to open this up a little bit. So one of the questions, this is not up-to-date data because I genericized it a long time ago, and so I think this data only goes through October of last year. But let's say I wanted to know how much product I produced in September by day and put it in a table real quick. So I can go product, let's see, product one production. Okay, and I hit tab. Okay, so it summed it up. That's how much I've made. So by day, okay, type in September 2019. And as you see, it is building it out. It thinks I need a graph. So there it is in a table with a quick question.
That's
Very much
amazing.
like we use Yelp or Google today. If you actually made all your manufacturing data available and in the correct context, You could literally ask questions in your morning meetings of your data instead of sending everybody off to go do a research project for a couple of days. Ask the question right then and there. Hey, I wonder. Boom, here you go. Now that I've asked the question, if I want a line graph, it's a simple click, or if I want a bar graph, whatever I want to do, I can simply change it as needed.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
Yep, with one simple question. So why are we not doing this in a morning meeting is my question to every manufacturer out there. Why in a morning meeting can you not type in a question and ask your data systems what the answer is?
Oh, yeah.
And if you can't get there, ask us because we can help you get there. It's going to take a little while. It's work, but we can get you there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been asking this question for 5 or 6 years. I know you've been asking it for at least as long, Jim. And now we have literally in 5 minutes shown people how they can use natural language questions to literally ask a Power BI system something and then immediately get the answer. And there is no excuse not to be doing this in 2020.